لو كل وزير عمل
starting producing again.
These are indeed the hopes and expectations, but the protesters seemed rather defiant. Do you expect them to abide by these calls?
I think some of them will stay and will be defiant, whatever the concessions or responding to the demands are done by President Mubarak or the authorities. But I think the majority of Egyptians have voiced their opinion today, and there is a more silent majority among the Egyptian people who do not want to see their country goes to chaos and would like to see normality come again. The Egyptians have resilience in their temper, and I'm sure Egyptian economy and Egyptian normal life will come again.
Earlier today, clashes broke out between President Mubarak's supporters and anti-regime protesters. The country appears to be divided into two camps.
Yes, it is divided into two camps, but I think the other TV channels and the outside world would have thought that the Egyptian people are only one camp, which is against the authorities and President Mubarak. But I think the outpouring of sentiments towards the president have equalized this sentiment. And it is time to have now national reconciliation among all the segments of Egyptian society. And as I mentioned before, go back to work. And I think all Egyptians have to heed the advice of our armed forces.
There have been calls for everyone to show restraint in these times. What would it take to restore calm and stability?
I think the belief that every Egyptian have a self-interest to see that normalcy will be regained again, because the more this situation continues, the less we'll have work opportunities, factories will be closed, redundancy will be increased, and our economy will lose its impetus. Only a week ago or 10 days ago, Egypt was considered one of the promising countries among the emerging countries of the world, and investments have been pouring to our country. But I doubt now that it will take hard work in order to regain the confidence of international investors and even local investors.
And sir, what do you believe are the most important things that came in President Mubarak's speech to the nation yesterday?
No, President Mubarak has been very frank with the people. He announced that he will not seek another candidacy during the next presidential election, and he asked the parliament and the government to proceed for the amendment of certain articles in the constitutions to allow everybody to campaign for, if he wishes, for the post of the president himself. And but some die-hard opinions among those who are asking the impossible. He conceded many things, but those people are every time they are upping their demands. But the silent majority of the Egyptians have been convinced of what President Mubarak has been saying. That's why we find this outpouring of sentimental attachment to President Mubarak, his record, and his announcement to the people.
Sir, they say they have lost faith in the regime. There is a lack of trust that the regime will carry out its promises and meet the expectations.
Yes, this could be understandable, but I think they can take this announcement at face value and see if the announcement has been implemented by the competent authorities or not, and then they could have their own demonstrations again. But to say that we don't have any trust, I think it's uncompromising, and they are sabotaging our society and our economy.
Thank you very much. Excellency Ambassador Ahmed Haggag, member of the Egyptian Council on Human Rights. Security forces from the Interior Ministry have arrested 160 escaped convicts, and 78 pieces of ammunition have now been retrieved. A security source said that the arrests took place in Cairo and in the governorates of Alexandria, Qalyubiyya, Munufiyya, Taqahliya, Gharbiyya, Fayoum, Asyut, Suheg and Qina. And in Al-Qanatir in Qalyubiyya, police forces aborted an attempt by 5 people to storm a police station. This after an exchange of fire. The men were arrested. Major General Mohammed Abdul Qadir Gaballah, head of the Red Sea Ports Authority, on Wednesday said that the ports of Suez, the Red Sea and South Sinai were operating normally as they have been secured and are now and there were no threats of sabotage. He said that during protests, the authorities' ports have received 135 cargo and passenger ships, boarding about 8,600 passengers, 7,300 tourists, in addition to 81 trucks. Gaballah added that the authorities' main operations center was working in full capacity round the clock, following up on securing the ports while the armed forces were protecting these ports from the outside. He also noted that the ships' movement into and from the ports, as well as unloading operations, was taking place regularly. The Egyptian stock market, meanwhile, announced it would continue its closure on Thursday for a 5th consecutive day. After a week-long closure, all banks will be back to work the coming Sunday in compliance with a decision by the governor of the central bank. We have the details.
Egypt's central bank reassured investors that the country's banks will have enough funds to deal with a possible run when they reopen on Sunday after a week-long closure. Bankers have warned that investors and Egyptians spooked by protests that have closed down much of the economy since they broke out on January 25th will seek to send funds abroad or convert them into cash. Opponents and supporters of President Hosni Mubarak fought with fists, stones and clubs in Cairo on Wednesday. Bankers have said that the central bank's war chest of $36 billion in foreign reserves could be seriously depleted within weeks if the political situation did not stabilize quickly. The stock exchange, which has also been closed, will begin trading one day after the banks reopen, provided activity at the banks goes smoothly. The central bank's deputy chairman said the banks would have enough funds to deal with the situation now. Banks on the stock exchange were closed for a 4th straight day on Wednesday and would remain so on Thursday.
That's the end of Nile News. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for more updates as developments unfold.